So now let's talk about the battery condition light. Since this is standard for a car, let me tell you how to read it. So obviously, if the battery state of charge is off, that means it has more than 10%. Okay, but if you see the battery state light coming on, that means that the battery has reached 10% of charge and it needs to be charged. Okay. However, if you're still driving it and the car is starting to flash, um, starting to turn on, flash slowly. Okay, so flash slowly. That is an indication it has 3% of charge, and you need to charge it ASAP. Okay. Uh, the other uh, code, I mean, another flashes, it would be if it flashes fast. When it's flashing fast, that is an indication that it has a fault on the car is registering a fault, so you need to fix it. So when you see it flashing rapidly, that means that the car has a fault and it needs to be repaired or fixed. Okay, and then the last thing it does is, of course, when you're putting it on charge, it's still going to flash 3 times, saying that the car is on charge. So those are the indicators. How to read the light indicator here. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about staging the vehicle. Okay. So when we're staging the golf cars, we have to make sure to put it in neutral and turn the key off. Okay. If you do not turn the key off, vehicle will time out after 30 minutes. That's still the same in the LG and the same in the Vanguard. Okay. And to activate the card again, you have to turn the key on, I mean off and then off, off and then on. I'm sorry. Okay. So the only difference here is that you have to know that if the vehicle is staged in the car barn and the key is left in the on position and is not plugged into a charger, the battery percentage will drop 35% a month if it's not plugged into a car. So this car will actually discharge faster than LG if you leave everything on. So I mean, 35% a month is not a lot, but it is a lot because time does go by fast. So just keep that in mind that you cannot leave this car without charging. Okay, so let's talk about at the end of the day. The first thing we do is we park the car in the storage facility with the key in the off position. We set the parking brake. We put the vehicle in neutral. We plug in the charger and wait for the light to turn on, and 3 beeps indicate the charger's on, right? So if Visage is available, you have to leave the Visage powered up to allow any over-the-air updates. Okay. If for some reason you towed the car in and forgot to switch the tow and run switch back into the run position, the car will still charge to 100%. Okay. So what that means is, if you guys remember on the LG, we had a problem where if you towed the car in and then if you accidentally left it in tow, well, the car will only charge 50%. Okay. And everybody was like, why is it charging 50%? Well, because it's in tow. You put it in storage mode. Okay. So on this one, it charges it at 100%. Okay. But the only difference is in 2 weeks, if you do not switch it back to the run position, the BMS will think you're storing the car for the winter, right? We're putting it up. Then it will start its storage mode. So you have 2 weeks to switch it back to the run position if you forgot to tow it. If you towed it in, you forgot to put it back in tow. Okay. All right. So vehicle storage procedures. All right. But before I can explain how to properly store the Vanguard vehicle, because we have so many problems with the LG battery discharging to 0%, the Vanguard battery is designed to protect itself better than the LG battery. Okay, the BMS protective software. So let's say we're driving the car. Okay, and once the battery reaches 10%, the dash display will indicate low battery, or the amber light will illuminate, indicating to put the car on charge. Right. So, two, let's say you're still driving the car and it reaches 3%, Well, the dash display will show charge required, or on a battery light indicator, the amber light will start to flash. That's indicating that it needs charge immediately, right? But let's say the customer is still ignoring and is still driving the car. Once it reaches 0%, the car will shut down and will go into a deep sleep mode. It will come back. Once it goes to deep sleep mode, it will not come back on until you plug it into a charger. So it's very important that if the customer completely discharges to zero, the car will go into a deep sleep mode and it just will not wake up. Okay. So now let's talk about when the cars are being staged inside the car barn, and because most cars are not properly charged, not plugged in into a working charger, or simply just left in the corner, not being charged at all, right? Let's say it just has a flat tire and it's just sitting in the corner, it's not plugged up, it's wrecked, the windshield's damaged, and so forth, right? Well, if you leave the car and if the key is left in the on position, and the car will discharge 35% a month, like we said before. That is the key. So the second, once the battery percentage reaches 5%, the golf cart will go into a deep sleep mode. Okay, again, if you ignore this card, the battery BMS will go into deep sleep mode once it reaches 5%. If the vehicle is still not on charge, and the battery will discharge 2% a month, which gives the client 2 months to charge the car. So now we're up to 3 months, and you still haven't charged the car, right? So if the vehicle is still not on charge after 2 months, okay, the battery has a 10% reserve voltage that will give you 3 more months to charge it. So as you can see, it's very hard to kill this battery if you gotta completely ignore it. So after 6 months has passed, if you better have a very good reason why you did not charge this car. Warranty will not pay for a new battery. So it's really hard to kill this battery. So if the customer is just completely ignoring to charge the car, uh, that is warranty is not going to pay for that. Okay, so you got to make sure that these guys are plugging the cars, even though it has a flat tire or is waiting on repairs. Okay, so what is deep sleep mode? Okay, that is a good question. And how do we wake it up? Well, to bring the vehicle out of deep sleep mode, you must plug the charger to the car. That's simple. Uh, it will not wake up until you plug it up to a charger. All right. In some cases, you might plug in the charger to the car with no AC power. Uh, you must restore the AC power first. Then you must have to unplug and plug the charger back to the car. So sometimes we plug the charger in and the AC power is not there. Well, you can't really do it backwards. You can't plug the car in the car and then notice that the AC is not on and then plug the AC power to the AC. That will not turn on the car. Okay, the car wants a live charger before it turns on, so you gotta make sure that the AC power is powering up the charger first, and then you plug up the car. That is the only way it's gonna wake up. Okay, so remember the key is that the BMS wants to charge the car before it wakes up. Okay, the battery charger has to be hot. So now let's talk about procedures, how to store the cars with AC power. Okay, the recommended extended storage temperature range is -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's the recommended temperature. So what do we do? First, we turn off all the electric accessories. We set the forward and reverse switch in neutral. We turn the key off. We remove the key. That'll assure that you turn the key off, and just keep the key in the safe area. We put shocks against the wheels. We do not engage the parking brake. Okay, because if you set the parking brake, I'm sorry, for a long period of time, you're basically stretching the cables, right? And then you have to do adjustments and all that. So that's why we don't recommend you guys setting the parking brake for a long time. So 6, we remove all the cargo and personal items. And 7, we set the tow and run switch in tow. And finally, we put the car in charge, but make sure the charger is on and charging, okay, before you leave cars. So that's basically what you have to do. The BMS would take care of the car after that. So now let's say when the car is on a charger and in, okay, so this was happening when the car is on a charger and in tow position, okay? So the car will charge to 100% as normal and remain at 100% for 2 weeks. Because remember, the car is designed, it's programmed to charge the car, even though you put it in tow for 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, if the vehicle has not moved, the BMS will switch to storage mode and the control system will discharge the battery to approximately 75% and maintain it charged at 75%. So once once the BMS realizes that you're putting it out for storage, it will, instead of charging the car, it will discharge it to 75%, and then it will keep it at 75%. And that's how the battery will maintain a sleep and charge for the winter, right? If no AC power, if now let's say if the AC power is lost while the charger is connected, well, the vehicle will go into deep sleep mode after 5 minutes, okay? And the battery will discharge 3% a month. So if in 5 minutes the vehicle uh, doesn't get the voltage back on the charger, it will go to sleep. But when the power comes back on, the BMS will turn the charger back on and charge it as needed. Now, if for some reason, this is rare, but if for some reason the car reaches 5%, remember, once it reaches 5%, this battery is designed to go to sleep go into a deep sleep mode. Okay, and let's just say that the charger is plugged in, but there's no power, and it already reached 5%. Well, you already know that it doesn't work that way. The charger has to be hot, has to have power for the BMS to recognize that the voltage is there, and then it'll turn on. So you will have to unplug the charger and plug the charger back on to restart the uh, the charging process. Okay, so that's very important. So now let's say if for some reason the vehicle was placed in storage with the tow and run switch in the run position. So you have 60 cars and you forgot that one was in run position. Well, one, the BMS will not go into storage mode. The BMS will maintain the charge to 100%. Okay, so the car is always going to be charged to 100%. It's not going to discharge at 75 because it still think you're working with the car. Okay, so now let's say that the you lose AC power. Well, if you lose AC power, the vehicle display a fault in the dash. This and the amber light will begin to flash. Why? Because it's telling you that hey, we lost power here, and that's why it's giving you a fault code. So you'll get a fault code if power is lost. So after 5 minutes, if no one's monitoring the car, the vehicle will go into a sleep mode. So after you got 5 minutes, if the charger doesn't come on, it'll go into sleep mode. Okay. The vehicle also discharges 35% a month while waiting on AC power to return, since the BMS is on, right? So we know that if the car is in a run position and you're putting it in tow, I mean you're storing it. Well, this car, if AC power is lost, it's going to begin to discharge 35% a month. So that's big if you forget to put it in tow. And then for some reason, if the power doesn't come back on. And as you guys already know, once it reaches 5%, again, it'll go into a deep sleep mode, and then it'll start to protect itself, and it'll start to discharge 2 to 3% a month to give you time to plug it back to charge. Okay, so just remember, once it reaches 5%, you have to uncharge. I mean, you have to plug a charger that has AC power on before you plug it up. If not, you have to unplug and plug it back up. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about vehicle storage with no AC power. It is not recommended by Club Car, but sometimes you have to do it. Okay. If that happens, here's a proper procedure. First, you turn off the electronics on accessories. We set the tow and run switch in neutral. I mean, the forward and reverse switch in neutral. We turn the key to the off position. We remove the key. Keep the key in a safe area. Again, we put chocks against the wheels. We do not engage the parking brake. We remove all cargo and personal items, and we set the car in run. We set the tow and run switch in tow. Then you already know that the car will begin to discharge 3% a month because it has no power, right? If in tow. If the car is in run position, the car will discharge 35% a month. So that's two key things you have to remember if you're storing the car. If it's in tow, 3% a month. If it's left for some reason left in run, it'll discharge 35% a month. So this is just so you guys can remember this, right? Tow, it's asleep, 3%. Run, it's wide awake. It's not gonna go to bed. Okay, it's wide awake. It's for crazy kids that they don't go to sleep. So it'll discharge 35%. Very important. So questions here. Do all distributors need to have the outside battery charger? The answer is yes, since the battery charger can charge LG1, LG2, and Vanguard battery. They should, this should be part of the service tools. Okay, so you got every dealer should have an outside battery charger. Will the Vanguard battery be used on an onward card? The answer is no. All onward vehicles will have the new LG2 battery, which is, has the same range as the Vanguard. Okay. Is the range for the Vanguard lithium battery going to match the current LG2 battery? Like, yes, it has the same range, and no, for the LG1 does not have the same range. Okay. Do you need a new CDT for the new lithium car? The answer is no. You still use your current CDT. It will work with your car. The only difference is the grade cable, right? All you need to make sure is you have the correct grade cable. Okay, I'll open up for questions now. If anybody has any questions, I'm here. Let me know. Let me have it.
Hey, Carlos. And
Yeah, man.
so I had a short list of questions here. So I'll start with my last one since you just mentioned it. Is there a particular reason why they separate between consumer and golf? They only use the LG batteries for consumer and the Vanguard for golf.
Yeah, the main reason is because Vanguard battery was designed for golf use only. Okay, um, we just designed it to for a two-passenger golf car, and is not is not it does not have the potential to put it on the onward because it's built for range. It's not built for power, which is on onward you have accessories, you have
Yep.
uh,
Extra
lift
power.
kits and all that. So that's the difference.
Okay. Yep. Um, and then the regarding the MCU, we all know we have the 375 amp upgrade, which I tend to do anyway. Um, Now that's the 375 amp upgrade. That's merely, even on a two passenger golf cart, that's going to just the advantage. Am I correct? That would be just more torque for hills and such.
It's more work for what now?
Is it's in other words, my question is, what's the advantage of the 375 amp controller? Is it, it on a two passenger golf car? I know it's for four passengers. It's recommended to get the higher 375 amp, correct?
Right. Yeah. So because of the load,
Yeah.
basically, 375 amp, it's has higher capacity uh, to move a load than a 235. So that's why it's recommended to have a 375 on a
Right.
four passenger vehicle.
Okay. So and then my second part of that is, on a, if it's like a golf vehicle, is it also good to do the 375 amp controller, if on courses like ours in Bermuda with a lot of hills?
So Club Car has tested the 235 on a golf car and it's done fine on all hills, climbing and all that. So it has to be a really, really steep hill. I mean, for go to 375, but as far as I know, the 235 has worked perfectly and they have not changed it yet.
Okay. All right. And then I going back to, you were saying like the going over the components that are common between the two, between the cars and which not. So like on the controllers, the MCUs and the VCMs, you said they're programmed for each individual car.
Correct.
Now is that programming only done at the factory, or can that be done through the CCDT?
So it so the when you order a new part, a replacement part,
Right.
once you get it in the golf cart, you have to program it with CDT. So if it's a VCM, like I said, it's made for both cars. So once you get it, you install it, you have to install it as a Vanguard and then update it and put the serial number and all that. And then once it's added to that, then it's good. Same for the MCU. It's going to require an upgrade. So as soon as you install the MCU, the controller, it's going to ask you to which car it is, and then you select Vanguard, and then you
Yep.
you program it.
Okay, so that's like, if you, in other words, that's if you order like a blank one from the factory. But so that makes sense. Now, how about if we run into a case where we want to use an MCU that came off one car and put it on another car? Can you do that in the field by reprogramming it?
It has to be the same type vehicle. It has to be a Vanguard versus another Vanguard. It can't be you
Okay.
can't take it off a Vanguard and put it in an LG
Okay.
because
So
it's
yeah.
programmed.
So once it's programmed for Vanguard, then it's Vanguard.
It's Vanguard, correct?
Okay. There's no toggling. Okay. Um. All right. And then so that outside charger that we all should have. Do you have a part number for that by chance?
I don't have it in front of me, but I'll email it to you.
Okay.
And then if anybody else that wants it, I'll email it to you guys.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then I guess my last one was going to the storage. The BMS, that which handles the storage, discharging it to 75% and maintaining it from there. Is
Uh-huh.
there is there a way for the customer to periodically check that to make sure that the BMS is doing its job? Like, in other words, if they have the car sitting there in tow, is there a way for them to periodically go in there and just make sure that the state of charge is, maintained at 75%?
So yeah, so if it doesn't have a battery indicator light display, battery display, of course you're not going to be able to see the 75%, but you should be able with the charger itself, if it's plugged in, and
Uh-huh.
then if it's being charged, all the lights will be on,
Yep.
and the charger will be on, so it'll indicate it's being charged, but you won't know it's 75%. But the the green light on the charger will be full. Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
as long as it's in tow and the computer, the BMS knows it's gonna show a full charge, but it's gonna be 75%.
Okay.
So The only indication is you have to check the charger. If the charger's on and the green light's on, more than likely everything's fine. So to answer your question, just you just got to look at the charger, make sure it's working.
Okay, cool. All right, that's it for me. Thanks, Carlos.
Excellent question, Dan. Anybody else?
We have a question from Alex Gutierrez. He wants the part number for the outside charger and the gray cable, please.
Okay, I will send that to them.
Thank you, Charlie. I have another question. It's regarding more like a commercial thing. When is this car be able to order? I didn't know we have this new option. Sorry about this, but I understand we have right now the LG2 lithium car available, but this Vanguard, when is gonna be able to be ordered, and if we have already templates to configure it.
Yeah, it's available. And if you guys want to order it for a fleet, again, it's basically built for a fleet. So it's available anytime. Just put in your order. I don't know if Diana can answer that or Andrea how to order it, but it's available now. It's been available pretty much all year.
Yikes. Okay, thank you. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Sorry, Carlos, I would also want to add that, Alex, you can see it available in the configuration in customer view. When you see the car options, it's right there. Like it says lithium, and then there's another tab where you can see it to order.
All right, thank you. Isn't it is this card also in the templates that are in Excel format?
I'm not sure about that. I will take a look and answer to you later on. Yes?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody else? Perfect. Okay, guys, but just remember, like I said, this car is built for fleet only. The idea is to try to, uh, get not get rid of, but slowly turn around every golf course to a lithium car. The advantage is the battery. It lasts 10 years. So once we put a fleet lithium car in there, you don't have to worry about batteries no more. All right, and that is the key thing about the golf courses. Like every 3 years, 3 to 4 years, we got to put batteries. This one, we guarantee it for 5 years that's going to work, and it has unlimited hours. So that's a big key. And of course, we made it affordable now for golf courses. So, all right. If anybody does not have any more questions, I think we should call it. Everybody good?
Good, thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Carlos.
Andrea.
Great presentation. Have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Thank you, you
Thank you,
too.
Jim.
Thank you,
Thanks, Carlos.
Carlos.
Thank you,
Appreciate it, guys.
Carlos.